welcome to another episode of the Marathon Mindset podcast. Today's guest, I'm going to give a little intro and then I'll let her give her intro too. Is somebody from my world, real estate world, but I think that this is not a real estate podcast, so I don't have a bunch of realtors. I'll select who I want to have. And I think this person has been the top of the San Antonio real estate game for a while. And when I say that, I'm going to give it perspective. We usually have around 12 to 14,000 realtors at a given time in San Antonio area. And she is definitely top 10, 15 in the whole board. And that's definitely the top 1%. So that not a lot of people can say that. And Sandra Rangel, and she is, I thank you, one, for being on the podcast, two, for overcoming some fear, and for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I'll let you give your intro. I know everybody has their little elevator pitch, but not pitch, but just a bio of who you are, and then we can kind of get into the question.
So I've been doing real estate for 15 years now, and started as a solar agent, and then built it up to a small team, and I still, to this day, have a small team, and just still enjoy doing what I do.
Yeah. And so it's just residential, or you do a little bit of commercial too?
Just residential. I don't have time for commercial.
Yeah.
I pass that on.
That's awesome. So how big is your team now?
So 3 agents and myself.
3 agents. Has it ever been bigger than that?
No, typically about 3 or 4, and that's it.
Okay. So let's go for the start. Why real estate? So what did you do before real estate?
So before real estate, I was in banking.
Okay.
I worked for IBC. I worked for Frost Bank, USAA. Then, you're always trying to, move up the chain. And I didn't see myself, get any further when I was at USAA. So that's when the Toyota plant came to San Antonio. And so I switched over and started working for manufacturing.
Okay.
And so I was working on my business degree. I finished it while I was at Toyota. And so once I was there and I finished my degree, I was promoted to specialist in the purchasing department.
Okay.
And so I believe I was there 4 to 6 years. And then I got my real estate license and made that transition.
What made you want to get your license, though?
Management motivated me.
Oh, you didn't like what was going on or whatever?
It's different. No, it was good. Management changes around, so I always look at, there's always a stepping stone to the next direction. And I never look at it as a negative. Yeah. Like when I left USAA, I had been in multiple departments and I felt I was in the position to promote. And so I applied for a position. I didn't get it. Instead of being upset, and I said, okay, well, what do I need to do next? Yeah. So then the opportunity came up for Toyota. And I said, well, why am I going to stay here and be bitter? Because I didn't get a role that I was more than qualified for. And so that kind of, encouraged me to make that change. And it was a great opportunity. And same thing with Toyota. And ended up working out where I said, you know what, I need to figure out, plan B. Mm-hmm. So I took my real estate classes, was doing well. And then they were starting to cut back in overtime. And back then, a lot of people that were hired, they were hired with, a certain salary because their overtime was, time and a half. Mm-hmm. And so Toyota felt like, well, if we're going to take away the overtime, we're going to hurt our employees. So they gave us options. And one of the options was to take a severance package, like a 6-month severance package. I was already doing very well in real estate, evenings and weekends.
Oh, so you were doing it part-time too?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, my husband was law enforcement working evenings.
Okay.
So I was like, well, on my evenings, what was I doing? Showing houses. Where prior, I was spending more hours working for Toyota because it was a startup plant. So then I started doing real estate in the evenings and my weekends, and most of my clients would go view homes after work. And then on weekends, it was perfect. Mm-hmm. So I always felt like, well, if I go full time, what am I going to do during the day? Most of my clients are working during the day. And so when that opportunity came up, I really had to think about it. Do I want to take advantage of this opportunity because I'm doing well with real estate? And so I want to do 100%, of one thing. So I went with it and took the severance package, and it was the best thing I ever did. Working a lot more hours, but
but it's for you.
It's for me, exactly.
So that's a little different than some people because you started around the same time I started, and there wasn't a lot of part-time agents.
No.
So like what made you go, oh, I can do part-time, or did somebody say you can do this part-time? Or where I started, they discouraged the part-time agent.
Correct. My husband had a really good friend that was a realtor.
Okay.
And so my husband had me speak with him to discourage me to do real estate.
Okay.
And, it backfired, obviously. And so he would not take any part-times.
Right.
I would have totally worked for him if he would. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't in the position to where I felt I have a corporate job,
right.
A really good job. I have my degree, I didn't see at that point real estate as like a career at that time. I was like, I already have a career going for me, and I don't know if I'm going to just leave this to go into real estate. Yeah. And so when I did, it was like, okay, it's just like everything. I throw myself in it. I'm a workaholic, and it worked.
Yeah.
I made it work. And so when I went full time, it was the same thing. Yeah. My day hours started getting full, and I was like, oh, this is going to work.
Yeah.
So I didn't make a mistake on going full time and leaving my corporate career.
No, I guess because like now it's a more common thing, right?
Correct. You have a lot of part-time agents.
Yeah,
now.
they're like, I have this career. I want to get out of this career. I'm going to kind of dabble here because I still need the benefits, or et cetera. Mm-hmm. And now it's like 100% acceptable. It's like that's how most people kind of.
It's like the norm.
Yeah, the norm now. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. What did you get your degree in?
I got my degree in Incarnate Word from Incarnate Word for a business with a concentration in information systems.
Cool. So you're from San Antonio?
Yes, born and raised, and I speak Spanish.
That's funny that you bring that up.
Yeah, it's not common.
So I moved here. I'm from the Valley, but I moved here from Houston. And when I got here and realized in real estate, there wasn't a lot of people who spoke Spanish.
Correct.
And maybe I should have ran with that, but I literally was like, I'm going to be the Spanish realtor. In my mind, that's what I was like, but then you didn't use it a lot. So unless you were, doing either the West Side or South Side or something like that. And so, but I wasn't plugged in there, but I literally was like, that's weird. San Antonio, you would think that more agents spoke Spanish, and they didn't.
Yeah. And I think that really was good for me because, I grew up speaking Spanish to my grandmother, my stepfather, and so it was around me. And it was funny because even at USAA, there was one of the team members where she's from Mexico, and she was trying to get me to speak with her in English so she could practice. And I was like, no, you speak to me in Spanish so I don't lose it. Yeah. And so it's funny because I met with her last week. Yeah. She's interested in investing. And that was 25 years ago. And so we still connect.
So what high school did you go to here?
I grew up in the West Side. I went to Edgewood High School.
Okay.
Just now with an art institute.
Yeah.
So.
So family, I saw a post because I told you I went through your whole Instagram. Well, because we don't have that relationship, right? I just know of you. I've been in the business as long as you have. And it's just but I just know of you. And so we haven't had this conversation. So I was like, I need to know more about Sandra. So I was like, that was the best way I can kind of look at the personal ones and stuff. And I saw a hashtag that said firstborn was with your mom. And so are you the oldest?
Yes, I'm the oldest. And so the oldest of my sister and two brothers.
Okay. But
also our heritage, the first one to get my degree.
Oh, gotcha.
Going to college too.
Gotcha.
So that could have been.
Well,
from that.
so I laughed when I saw it because that's what I tell my mom. So on Mother's Day in the card, I put your firstborn, and that was so when I saw that, I thought that was interesting. So one sister, two brothers.
2 brothers, yeah.
Okay, cool. And what do they do?
So my brother after me is in construction.
Okay.
So, he helps me with some clients sometimes.
Yeah.
And my sister is in the medical field.
Okay.
And then the youngest brother also, his wife has a roofing company,
Okay.
so they do roofs.
Cool. So all overachievers, all doing really well. Does that come from the family background? Is that from parents worked hard?
I think it comes like from my stepfather. It's from Mexico, and worked really hard. And I feel that that's kind of where I get, a little bit of my background from it. Is he raised me since I was 3 years old, so seeing them work hard for us, and my mom having a full-time job and still coming home, cooking and being a wife and a mom.
Mm-hmm.
So my role was basically to help her.
Yeah.
And so, work doesn't come as an issue for
Right.
me.
So you had an example.
Yes.
Yeah. Hard work. So, when you talk about being just diving in and just kind of workaholic, that's got to come from somewhere. So that's why I was asking. We talked about you starting. So hardest challenge starting in real estate, like when you started to go full time, what was like, cause I have mine. Like I know there's like little things that was like, okay, there were these little humps, but what was like being new in the business, coming from part-time to full-time?
I think it's just transitioning from the corporate world to full-time is, what are you going to do with your time and filling up your day-to-day activities. And I think it helped also that I always felt like the busier I was more productive. If, even to this day, my assistant will tell you, if I'm not running around crazy, then I'm not feeling productive, to where if I don't have multiple things that I'm doing and I have almost like in a sense day off with not appointments to attend to, there's always something to do. But like if I don't have appointments that I have to run here, run there, meet a client or, showing buyers, and then it's like office time, even though it is productive, it's like I don't feel like, I didn't put a full day's work.
Gotcha.
So I think getting that full day, transition from corporate and knowing that, okay, all day I have this. And so then prospecting, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
I think, to me, I look at every little hiccup as a challenge, not an issue or like yours is you're saying it's memorable. What was yours?
Yeah. So mine was because I came from retail, right? And I just got tired of retail. I was in retail management. I'm in a box, all the time. And so it was like I couldn't get out and I wanted to do my own thing. And so have my own schedule, that type of thing. But the other part was the ceiling, right? And so when I started, I was an assistant. Like I was licensed, came in thinking, and I was going to either go work at a bank or I was going to do real estate. So I was like interviewing. And they said, oh, well, you need to have 6 months of reserves. You need this and that. And everybody kept telling me the good, but nobody ever told me the bad. And when this person did, they were like, okay, here's the bad. And I was like, I don't have all that. I'm going to go work at a bank. Come back. And then he was, right before I left, he was like, no, hold on. Have you ever thought about being an assistant? And I was like, no. What is that? What are you talking about? I have a license, And so he was like, oh, you work for an agent, and and so I started that way. And then I started slowly showing, and it just kind of like worked out that, I was lucky, I think. And, but the biggest thing for me was, cutting that lifeline, right? You didn't have a lifeline. You had to make it happen, and you went all in. And so even though I was licensed and I was working and everything else, I didn't really feel like I had to, right? When an agent has no choice but to make this work, that's usually when they are successful, in my experience. When there's, well, I have the wife, or I have this, or I have that, they don't work as hard.
Correct.
And so when I realized that I was not doing everything I needed to do to feel good and sleep at night, that's when I was like, okay, now it's coming together. But it was that lifeline. It was a blessing and a curse. And so, but other than that, everything else is just little tasks, right? It was just a matter of like, are you doing all the tasks that you need to do to be successful? And most people that, I don't know, they get caught up, right?
Yeah.
Especially now with all the things posting and this and that. And, you know, I want to go to this event. I got to do this, that. But it's like, what are you doing for business?
Correct. You get sucked into like the networking events. You know, I want to go, you know, this and that. And honestly, I tried to attend what I felt like, okay, I need to attend that.
Yeah.
But half of the time I didn't have time.
Right.
And especially once I had my son, it's like I need to get my full day during the day because now I have to go pick up my son from, you know, daycare, you know, then cook, do, you know, be a wife, you know, be a mom. And, you know, obviously real estate doesn't stop at night. You still at least have the calls or the fires you need to put out, but at least try to manage your appointments to keep them within, you know, within reason.
Yeah. So if you don't have the memorable obstacles, what's been the biggest thing that's helped you in your business?
I think with me, the biggest thing that's helped me is having my team.
Okay.
It kind of started as an accident. You know, there's a gentleman in my office that, you know, he didn't want to be paying, you know, so much office fees. And if you shared an office, you know, and kind of had a team, then it kind of lessened the fees. And at that time, it was a summer, and I was working with this one company called Market Leader. I don't even know if it's still around. And so I was getting plenty of leads coming in. And so I was like, well, I could use the help. And I'm really big about customer service, you know, especially now everyone wants instant gratification.
Right.
Back then it wasn't as bad as it is now. Back then it was more me, I want to service my clients to the best that I can.
Right.
If I don't, then they're going to go somewhere else, right?
Referrals not coming back.
Correct. And so then to me, I was like, okay, well, it'll work. You know, I'll help you and you help me and then, but we were thinking more like for the summer.
Yeah. Temporary.
Well, 5 years later, he was still on my team. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Right. And, but it was more that helped me because if I was busy, you know, in the beginning, I had more buyers than I had sellers. And I loved it because I could control the situation.
Yeah.
You tell me your wish list, what you want, we're going to go find it.
Sure.
Where listings was different. I couldn't make these agents bring their buyers to come see my house. I'm like, I'm sharing everything I can, you know?
Yeah.
And so there's only so many hours during the day. So having that support that, hey, I have a new buyer coming in, here, run with it, you know? And having the team, I didn't have to worry about, oh, well, who am I giving this lead to? And do I have to track, are they going to pay me a referral fee? You know, I don't have time to be tracking that when I'm busy with what I'm doing. So it was easy for me. Well, if it's in my team, when they close the deal, I get, in a sense, a referral for being part of my team. And I don't have to worry about either they brought them or I gave it. And I didn't like to micromanage.
Yeah.
So it was like, it just kept a straight split and that's it. Either you bring it or I give it to you.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, at that point, I was just more, I'd rather not lose it and give it to someone that can close it and we're all making money.
Yeah.
So that's the part that I liked. And then within, I think, a year or two, I had one of my really good friends that she was working on getting her license and we had already talked about her joining my team. And then at the same time, there was this one gentleman that was working for a sales office that a company that was leaving San Antonio. And so I said, hey, come talk to my broker, you know, come join our office. I was looking at someone else on my team because I already knew I had somebody else slowly but surely, right? And then he's like, well, I want to work on your team. You know, then maybe in a year or two, if you can help me transition out, I want to do my own team. I was like, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting that. And so then that's why I ended up getting 3, you know, before, you know, the year was out. And, you know, it worked out because he was very go-getter, already was a sales counselor.
Yeah.
My other friend, she worked in PR for the Spurs, you know, at Toyota as well. She just had a really big following. She's really sweet. And she just worked for friends and family.
Okay.
She did not want any leads from me. She didn't want stranger leads.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to work friends and family, you know, and she did very well because everybody loved working for her,
Yeah.
you know, with her. And so it worked out. And so I've always had, in a sense, agents that were already self-sufficient and already had where people wanted to work with them.
Okay.
So now with time, you know, it's a little different. You know, newer agents wants to join, and I'm, you know, happy to help, but it's different than when it was when I first started.
Sure.
And so now it's like, you know,
It's more
knowing,
selective.
you know, how you can help someone. And
Right.
there's only so much that you can do, kind of like how you were talking about. Back then, if somebody has that support person, you know, because even through the whole process, I've had some turnover, but not as high as some other teams. And so I'm happy for that.
Yeah.
And even people that have left my team, we're still great friends. So it's never been they leave and we
Talk
hate
about
each
it.
other.
Yeah.
And it's always been respectful.
That's good.
And, you know, because I still want to be here to help wherever I may help,
Yeah.
you know. Everyone, you have to look at it as everyone has, it's your future, not mine. If I can be here and help you get where you need to get, you know, either it's my team or not, then I want to do that for you. I don't want to be like, oh, no, he left my team. You know, I don't want to talk to them anymore.
Right.
You know, it's not, it's part of business, you
Yeah.
know, careers, you know.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, having that transition, you know, that it's a good thing. And, you know, you need to have that.
Yeah. So how did your team level you up? Without, I mean, not just with the leads that you're going to hand off, but I mean, like, do you feel like your team had made you go from here to there?
I
Or
think
just-
having the team, it does help. It helps a lot, you know, tremendously, because you can't handle it all.
Right.
You cannot handle it all. I know that some of my guy friends, realtor friends, you know, some are involved, yes, with, you know, being a dad, you know, and you know, a spouse and all that. But it's just like, I don't compare myself to other successful real estate men. Two different, you know, dynamics right there. Now we say, yeah, that's you. But did you go pick up your kid from school? Did you go home and cook? No, your wife's cooking while you're over there networking with sales counselors, taking them dinner and all that. I don't have that opportunity to do that.
Right.
You know, plus that's not what I want to do.
Right.
So there's a difference on how people get their business and how they continue to grow their success. But I feel having my team, I never saw myself as like a team lead, like a lead or a leader, you know. And so I feel having my team has really pushed me, you know, to levels where I'm uncomfortable and I have to step up for them. And it's kind of like being a parent, and you have to step up for your kids.
Yeah.
And I feel having the team, I've learned so much for being a team lead. And I always like everyone to feel like, hey, we're a team together. It's not like I'm the boss and it goes, what I say goes.
Right.
We try to brainstorm on how can we make our team better, and how can we make it where we all have families, you know, we're all independent, but we want to enjoy what we're doing while we're doing it. And, you know, even at the office right now, it just happens they're all girls, you know, in the office. So I like that. Where before I had a mix of guys, you know, one or two guys every so often, but it's just different, you know.
Yeah.
So right now, you know, it's the girls. I have one part-time guy. He has a corporate job, but I mean, he closes more than some of these part-time people that are doing it, you know, in a sense full-time, but, you know, part-time. And, you know, he likes to act like he's like one of the girls, but in his corporate job, he does HR.
Okay.
And so there's times where we'll call him and be like, hey, how do we address this? What do we do here? So he, you know, brings other value as well, you know, in closing the deals, because his wife likes vacations. And so he's like, I got to keep closing deals, you know? And so he pulls his weight. So it's still good. So he's the only guy that we have, but he's not around, you know, 24/7.
Yeah. Did you ever do like coaching or anything like that?
No, I do more like one-on-one mentoring with my team. And, you know, I'm very open to, I know sometimes it may seem like I'm not approachable. Like, you know, right now we're in one office where we have different, you know, teams. And once people start getting to know me and realizing that I am approachable, but every time I come in, I'm like, I look like I'm on a mission, or I'm like, my game face is on. It's like, I got things I need to do, or if I'm on the phone. And then when I make time for them because they have a question, then, my assistant will say, oh, so-and-so said like, wow, Sandra is approachable. And she'll explain like, yeah, Sandra's just really busy. And, she comes in, she doesn't have time like chat all the time. And because she needs to get things done because she has something else, like so much on her plate.
Yeah.
But, I have agents that are not even in our brokerage that'll reach out to me and, ask for advice, or, some people think that they may think that they want to be in a team or might need to be in a team to succeed because they're going through some, slow, market or whatever it is. And then, I try to connect them with people that I think would help them out of their slump. I know there was one lady that she was thinking that she needed to be a team. And then when I got to know exactly why do you feel you need to be on the team, not that I wasn't wanting her on my team, but I just didn't think that was the answer.
Right.
If you're slow in the business, it doesn't mean joining a team is always an answer. It's like, well, what's the problem? Let's figure out what the problem is first and kind of figure out a solution for it. So she needed more one-on-one mentoring, like accountability. And I ended up connecting her with a lender that I know that he does one-on-one coaching. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what? I think this guy would really, really help you a lot. And so I was excited to know that a month later, I followed up with that lender and I said, hey, how's it going with so-and-so? And he's like, oh, she's doing really great. And so I felt good about that because it let me know that she truly was looking for some guidance and not just saying that she needed, to be on a team or wanted just somebody to feed her leads and, give me the easy work.
Right.
She actually needed somebody to kind of help her, get out of the slump she was going through. And so I was excited to hear that she was still sticking with him and doing what he was telling her to do. And they were closing some deals. So it makes me feel good.
Yeah. No. So, but did you ever do any coaching? Like, did you ever have a coach?
I have a coach, yes.
You have a coach?
My first coach was Tomas Martinez.
Okay.
For Luxury Magazine. Mm-hmm. And so it was the best thing I ever did. Because I felt like...
Why?
When you're just going, and you're like, okay, not that you're feeling burned out, but you're feeling like going in circles. Like, there's only so much I can do, work. It's like, what's next, And... I always tell him, I said, I should have paid you more because I feel like you were more my psychologist because there's times that I just needed to come in and just vent. And it's always good to have that sounding board, somebody that you don't need just a girlfriend that's saying, oh, girl, you're doing good, or like, don't listen to that negative. You don't want someone just to
talk you up.
Yeah. I don't need that. I want someone to tell me, like, if I'm not doing something right or I'm the issue here, I want to know, and I want to know how to fix it and how to be better. So with Tomas, there's times that I'd be like, and sometimes our sessions would end up being him kind of coaching me on like, well, what do you think? And, and so I think we were coaching for like 5 years. And I think towards the end of the 5, I started with a lender, Josh Sigmund. They do the core coaching. Okay. And so they started like a group coaching with different agents. And I really liked that because with Tomas, it was one-on-one, which was good. Yeah. But I also liked that with Josh, it was other successful team leads or solo agents. And so that was really good because when you're over here thinking like, am I the only one going through this? Yeah. And because not a lot of agents talk to each other or share their struggles because like, oh, I can't share my weakness with you because, but being able to listen to other team leads or their struggles and then being able to, give them an advice too and hearing and assisting, it was like, oh, wow, I'm not alone, so I think that's a really good, concept, the way he has it. And to this day, we're still on coaching. Yeah. Yeah. So that's I like it. So it's always good to have a coach. It's not like, oh, you need a coach because you don't know what you're doing. No, sometimes it's like you come across other ideas or things that you can do and change and better. You always have to look at bettering your business. Right. And that's how I look at as coaching. And so now, this past year, my team wanted to be part of the Tom Ferry coaching. So now I also have Tom Ferry coaching for my team. And so we have weekly calls. And so do the agents. So
that's cool.
They are being held accountable. And I said, I'm willing to do that if you guys really want it.
Yeah.
So it's not just me coaching. Now we're all getting coaching. Coached. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So.
And you just started that with the Tom Ferry?
Yes, we went to the summit last year in August. And so the girls were thinking of doing, buying into it. And I said, look, if y'all all are on board, I'll go ahead and do the team, and that way we all get it and we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
And so I did it.
That's cool. So you mentioned your son. So how old is he?
He's 10.
10.
Cody.
So that's your why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I bring that up because I have one daughter as well, and so she's 8. And when everybody says, what's the why, you try to think of some, I don't know, something cool to say instead of it being like, it's my family. Like, I want to provide for my family. But I mean, is it like, what's the end goal in the sense of your why, like being like, where do you see yourself 15, 20 years from now with your business, with your family? Like, where do you see yourself?
I know many say, oh, retirement, but my team laughs like, I don't think you're ever going to retire. Right. I think I'm going to be 90 years old still selling houses.
We had an agent in our office, and when I started, his name was Wally Crane. I don't know if you ever met him. He was like 90 years old, little old guy. He would walk around, he had a bow tie, and he'd walk around the office. He'd come in, just drink coffee, and just walk around. He was really nice. He'd tell stories. I went to his funeral, and I barely knew the guy. But I mean, yeah, it was like he was in the office, all that. I was like, wow, he's still doing it.
I mean, I don't know when I see myself retiring, but I want to enjoy my son, sports, things like that, and quality time at home. So that's why I'm really big, even now, my evenings, to where I try to lessen the time that I take the calls. It's emergency, some issues, it's deadlines. Yeah. Yes, I'll take that. But if it's something that I know I can wait the next day, then I'll let it wait the next day, or wait until he goes to sleep. Then if I have to take that call at 9:00 at night because I need to address it before the day is over, then I'll do that. Yeah. But for the most part, after COVID, it's just you start thinking more of like life's too short. And I told my husband, yes, we go to Port Aransas a lot. He said, I want to travel. I'm like, I know we have our beach house in Port Aransas, and let those get rented. And then we went, I think last year we went to Florida, we went to San Diego, and I can't remember where else we went, but the Bahamas. And I'm like, I want my son to experience different areas, the world, not just, Port Aransas is easy to drive down there, stay at our place. That's fine. Yeah. But I want to have those quality memories. Yeah. And just, in the future. And that's why I still enjoy having a team, because if there's days that I want to disconnect and I get a lead and it's just like, here, run with it. Yeah. And I do that a lot. I know that there's a lot of teams that I hear that, oh, my team lead doesn't give me leads. And I'm like, I don't have time to that. Yeah, I'm like, I don't. And so whatever comes in, I mean, some of the agents are surprised that it's not, I'm just giving my agents low dollar point deals.
Stranger
I think
leads.
One of my agents, I know, stranger leads. No, I think Annalisa, she's been with me right now the longest, I think 4 years. Mm-hmm. And I see her as more like my partner. We motivate each other. And I mean, there was one time I had a Alamo Heights lead, 850,000. And my plate was just so full. And I was like, where someone would have been like, oh my God, that's a high dollar one. I'm like, I'll figure something out. And I think I was going to go out of town in 2-3 days. And I was like, there's no way. So then I run with it. Just like, absolutely, she's on it. But it's because I have the confidence that if I give her a lead, I know she's not going to let it fall apart.
Right.
She's going to run with it. Yeah. And it's almost as if I did it. So I think having that confidence with your team and, your partner that way, that, what, if I could give you all my leads today, I know that you would be on top of them and I wouldn't have to worry about anything.
So did you have to have it? I mean, you talk about the training now that y'all are all doing. Was there a lot of like training with you and them, of how you work? Because for me, I've done it. I've had a small team. This is kind of my small team, but you being really big with customer service, I'm the same way. And it's like, sometimes I go, I don't know if you're going to handle it the same way, you know, in my head. And it's like, that kind of holds me back sometimes. But it's like, okay, how do we all get to the point where we know how everybody works? And you might handle the customer service a little bit different, but I know you're not going to do something where the customer's going to be like, I don't like working with this person. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you're all on the same kind of core values, right? Did you have to do a lot of that type of like one-on-one with your team? Or is it just, no, you just knew the person?
Well, not really. I mean, you kind of go a little bit off of their personality and you see how they work. Yeah. Like with Annalisa, she started as an investor and she was my client. And then from that, she got her license and she joined some mom and pop. But the more we talked, she wanted to join a team and to be able to shadow me as a woman, you know, entrepreneur. And a little bit we got along, you know, as her being my client. Mm-hmm. And so then that's when she joined. And so she would listen to us. I'd have my calls in the office and things like that. And, you know, when she had questions, she'd ask me. But, you know, she already had that, you know, and she knew the real estate because she was involved in it, you know, with her investment properties. Yeah. And then in the beginning, she was helping a lot of her, you know, friends, family, and, you know, referrals. I think that helps too when you start with people that you know, because that gives you a little bit of the comfort, confidence to go out there and do it. But they also shadow. Yeah. You know, I remember a time where, you know, they shadowed me and for the appointment, and then to be able to know later that I got that appointment and they saw me in action, and then later that we sold it. And so it's just like, oh, that was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And so I think by seeing what I'm doing and realizing that it's not as scary as I thought my first, you know, listing appointment would be.
Right.
And so sometimes you just need to shadow someone just to know that, like, oh, I could do that.
Yeah. They just need to see it visually. Like
exactly.
How you do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And even like when you're showing the buyers, and, you know, I tell them, I'm like, what would you do if it was your house? What do you want them to see? Right. So show your buyer the same way. Pretend it's your house and you're giving them a tour of your home. Right. And different people have different ways of their listing appointments. Like that guy, you know, on my team, Rick. Mm-hmm. He says, nope, I walk in and I sit with them on the table and I go through numbers first. And I'm like, really? I said, I have them give me a tour. Mm-hmm. I'm like, then I start oohing, wowing about the house or in the improvements and showing them that I know, you know, that the type of improvement they made, and I'm already aware of the lingo and all of that. Right. And, you know, how can I go just straight talking to numbers if I hadn't even seen their home, right. You know? Right. So, I mean, but everyone has their way. Sure. And so then I tell them, I do this. So whatever you're comfortable with, that you're going to be able to sell yourself when you're going to a listing appointment, then you're going to find what's going to work for you.
Yeah. Somebody told me a saying a long time ago, take the good, leave the bad, and make it your own. Yeah. And it was kind of like, that's what I let these agents know is like, I'll do it this way. You're going to do it your way, but take the best parts and make it your own. And that'll probably better serve you. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So when we're talking about team, core values, besides real estate, like, do you do anything else?
Is there time for anything else?
Let me put it this way. What's your self-care, like the new self-care time for you? Like, is it working out? Do you have a morning routine?
No.
No? No. You don't get up at a certain time when work out?
I try to.
I did too. Julio and I used to do the whole 5 a.m. thing, and then I have a trainer, but I only do it like twice a week, where it's 6 a.m. Like today was 6 a.m., but I don't do it every day. Yeah. It's not consistent that way.
Well, my husband gets up at 5 because he goes in early in the morning, so I have no excuses.
Sure.
So, you know, for a while I was doing that, and it's just lately it just depends on, I don't know, you know, sometimes you're just mentally drained and you're like, oh, I'll do it in the evening. Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to get back on that routine. Yeah. And but I seem to be finding myself like after work to do that, to do the workout. But then there's times that's like you leave it for after work, and then all of a sudden there's a call that came in, and you have to handle this, you know, and And what happens? And then dinner starts coming around the corner, and it's just like, okay, I'm already getting hungry, and then I'm cooking. I'm like, and so sometimes I tell my husband, I'm like, okay, turn this off when it beeps. I'm gonna go in the garage, and I'm gonna go do a workout, or I'm gonna go run the neighborhood and then come back.
Yeah.
You know, and you feel good afterwards.
Yeah.
I do like working on the evenings, but I do like doing it at 5 a.m. because at 5 a.m. I noticed that when I was on my routine, I'd also listen to my Audible
or something.
Yes, my Audible. So that's when Josh would have us like read a book. He'll give us a book and say, okay, the next session I want it to be done. So then I'm like, oh my God, I got to hurry up and finish this book, right? So, you can speed up the Audible.
Oh, yeah.
Figure that out. I'm like, you're talking a little too slow. Let's speed you up a little bit. I got 2 hours to go and then 1 hour before my meeting, right? No, but I like that because when I'm doing on the treadmill or the stair climber, I would listen to it. But, there's times that I would find myself like, oh, that's a good one. I need to write that down, but I'm not, where I can write it. So I was like, I'll listen to it later. But I like that because I was trying to make a goal, like how many books could I read that year? And, and I'm trying to get that again because I have all these audibles and I'm like, okay, I start this, then I don't finish it and I start another one. And so I'm trying to, like, as I started it, you don't go to the next one until you finish it. Yeah. So I want to get back in that routine. And I found myself that when I did get up at 5 a.m. to do my cardio and my workout, it's quiet, no one's coming in and, asking questions. And you're able to get a good hour, an hour and a half of the Audible as you're working out.
I think for me, like working out in the evening, I like it as well, but my phone still rings. Correct. Right. And so like, I got to turn it off. But that's when clients, like you said in the beginning, that's when they got off work. They're like, hey, I need to do that. So it kind of interrupts a little bit. So I agree with you. I think the 5 or 6 a.m. for me is like, I can get it. There's nobody up. Like it's just me in the garage. And I'm like, okay, and then it's done. I don't have to worry about it. Like I still have to go work out when I get home, and that's the one little thing that is the bad part about working out in the evening. But so no time for Sandra. You just work.
And that's what I'm trying to change.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to change is like, what was it? Last weekend, my husband had a class, out of town. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do on my Saturday? I don't have an appointment. I don't have anything. And I was telling the girls, I'm like, maybe, I have so many massage spas I should use. I was like, I should go and do it. And then on Monday, my assistant asked, so did you go get your spa? And I'm like, I went and bought plants and I started putting them in the front yard. But I'm like, that relaxes me.
That was therapy for you.
That's therapy for me. I enjoy that. I mean, it's like I'm barely home doing nothing. And so, like, the weather's been great, and we have a screened-in porch. And so Saturday and Sunday, Friday and Saturday, my husband's all like, are we going to sit on in the patio? And we just listen to music and have a drink, and he's reading the news, and I still have my laptop, but it's relaxing. Yeah. Like, obviously I always have my laptop. Sure. But it doesn't bother him. He's, catching up to news and on his phone, and we're sitting there, and we're enjoying each other, and just relaxing. The weather was perfect, and I'm like, those are the things that we like to do. Yeah. And but so we're looking forward to the summer weather to be able to sit out there instead of the cold. But I guess to me that's like my decompress. Okay. But I do want to go, get back into. I mean, I used to work out 6 times a week. I did a bodybuilding competition, and that's
when did you do that?
My background. Many moons ago.
Really?
Yeah, when my husband and I first met. I think I was like 25, 26. But that's my background. Okay. I was a personal trainer, and so I'm like, I know what to do. I let the work, take over. It's like making sure my clients are taken care of, making sure, everything is, in order. Yeah. But it's just, it will never stop. Yeah. So that's why I said, this year I need to focus, on Sandra and, get back into a routine.
I think it's for somebody, and I'm not comparing myself to you, but, but I see similarities where, do you have a hard time letting go?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I for me, it's like, I think it's trust in our people in our circle, right? And going, yeah, because if I don't, I'm still worrying about it. I'm still thinking about it. And it's, it's not, I'm not being able to enjoy where I'm at in the present, right? Being with your son, being with your husband, whatever. Like, I think that's the hardest part for me, because I'm always like, no, I'm in control of this, right? Mm-hmm. But we all know that we're not in control, right? But at the same time, it's how do we balance that for our sanity and for the people around us, right? That, yeah, they want to do a good job for you. They want to be part of the team. They want to do all those things, and it's like, all right. And I think that's something that I'm always working on, because it's like, yeah, control freak or whatever you want to call it. But sometimes I'm like, no, I'm not like that. But then it's like, yeah, I catch myself. And
I think as being, in a sense, we're self-employed, you're always trying to find ways to try to streamline some things. And what else could I be doing as a team? What else could we be doing to move our listings? Like, you asked me earlier about my social media. And, so I have, my college student, that's getting her degree in marketing, working on my social media. Like, hey, you have my permission to be surfing social during work and seeing what others are doing. And if you think something's a good idea, let me know. And, you have my blessing to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or, you're in corporate job. It's like, get off social media and all that. But,
yeah,
I tell her, or when I see an idea and I share it with her, like, hey, this is cool. Do you think we could do this? And she'll say, hey, well, let me look into it. I think we can, or whatever. And so, I'm trying to push that on her. But yeah, what am I still doing? In the morning when I'm doing my cardio, instead of listening to the iPad, I'm posting a reel, or I'm posting something, or I had a listing that I didn't post, and I'm doing that. Yeah. But yet I have somebody that does that for me. So why am I still doing that?
Right.
Because
it's the control part. Well, it's because we're so used to doing it on our own.
Correct.
And I think that's like, you coming from corporate is interesting to me, because it's like, my wife is in corporate, and we always talk about this. And like, that was one of the reasons, I mean, just like you, like I couldn't stand, I guess, being told what to do. Right. So it was
didn't want to be micromanaged.
I didn't want to be micromanaged. And that was like, that's like the worst thing. And so that's why I was like, nah, I'm going to do, this is great, because it's just me, and I control it. Whatever I put into it is what I get out of it. And there's nobody to blame. Right. But hearing the corporate jargon and all the, just all the red tape and everything else. And I look at them as the giant that, they move slow, we can move fast, and, all these different things. But it's that there's not, some people are happy with it, and that's great, because it does have a lot of benefits and perks and different things. But I think just for me, and then going, like, this is the reason why I created the podcast, was I have an agent, him as Julio, and like taking it was like seeing myself over again, like from the beginning, right? Seeing somebody that was like, I want to do something different. I don't know what to do. And it's like, I can show you, and you just got to put in the work. Mm-hmm. And it was the perfect template, and he did all the work, and he's doing really well. But the jump part, having somebody to go, it's scary to take the jump to go do this. But I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? You're going to be where you're at right now. You can always go back to it, or something like it. You're not going to die. Did you die? You know what I mean? And so I think that's when you get into it, it's so different from corporate. And then it's like, I control this, I control this, and yes, and I want it to be this way.
But even like me doing it, 15 years now, going on 16, sometimes I just feel like I want someone to tell me what to do. Like, am I doing it right? Yeah. Like, I feel like, okay, can somebody just evaluate my business and tell me how to fix it? Or, do I need to fix anything? Or right. What else could I be doing better? Because I always feel like it's not either not good enough and not that I'm like mean with my agents or team or anything like that. It's just more me.
Yeah.
Like no one can expect more than me than myself.
Right.
Like I expect a lot, and even though I do give a lot, but I was just like, okay, I'm always looking at ways to improve and ways on what else could I be doing and, things like that. And it's just, sometimes you just feel like, can I just sit back and somebody just tell me what to do?
Yeah.
Can somebody just take charge for, a week or something?
That's funny because I have the same thoughts. But I mean, okay, so you were, where were you a trainer at? A personal trainer at?
Mom and pop. It was used to
okay.
call Joe's off of Fredericksburg.
Okay.
I did some personal training there,
but I mean, like knowing personal trainers that now, like these guys are, guys and girls are all high performant people. Like, I mean, you have a schedule, you have clients, you have this, and then to do a contest, like, or, a show, like to put in the work to do that, like that takes discipline, it takes dedication, you know what I mean? Like,
and time.
To manage your time. Right. So like those are all tools that you've used now. Like, you know what I mean? And so I think it's just it's the mentality, right? Like once you get into that mentality and know that, okay, this is where we need to take it. It's plug and play.
But it's funny how everybody talks about right now, the big thing is consistency.
Yeah.
It was then, it is now. Now you just hear more people saying that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to tell the girls. It's like, we need to do one thing and stick to it and then be able to research, okay, we did it for 90 days. Did it work? Not, okay, then let's try something else.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're facing right now.
Yeah. No, I think that's funny. That is the buzzword.
It is. And I keep hearing it in my ear, and I'm like, Sandra, consistency.
Yeah.
So
two more questions. What's one piece of advice you would give somebody who's thinking about not just getting in real estate, but maybe getting out of corporate and being, some type of entrepreneurial type of job or real estate? What would be that piece of advice?
For sure to do your research on, obviously which company you're going to join. And I know there's so many people that look at splits, everyone's focused, oh, well, wait a minute, you're going to take how much from me? Mm-hmm. And I think the focus should be more on who do I feel I'm going to learn the most from? Because if you look at people that do internships, most of the time they don't get paid, right? Some will pay a little, but they do that in a sense for free because they're wanting to learn. And it's like with real estate, they're coming in and it's like, there's some teams that'll charge 50% of the commissions. Some will charge 60 depending on how much mentorship, is given. But people end up not joining those teams that they could learn so much from because they're so fixated on the dollar amount, to where if I could go back, and join a team when I first started, I would totally love that because I would be able to see how someone is running their business, and then be able to analyze it. Do I want to be a solo agent or do I want to eventually that be my goal, that I want to be a team like my team lead, or do I not? So I think that just gives you the opportunity. And like, even when I have people join my team, my splits are all different depending on what we provide as the office. But I always tell them also, don't look at it as you're going to be with me forever. Mm-hmm. You can, maybe, if it works out, but look at it as like, the time you're with me, let's give it 100% to each other. Yeah. And let's go, make some money. Yeah. And let's go, help some people. And don't look at it as like, oh, okay, well,
she's taking
how long,
Yeah.
You're already thinking
instant
like dragging it out instead of saying like, you know what, I'm good with that. For 6 months, a year, there's nothing that says, oh, you can't quit after, 6 months, or you can't quit until after a year. It's like everything else. Have your conversations and, just be open-minded. And so I always tell people, or even when I know agents are leaving other teams, and it's like, don't be ugly about it. You never know when you may, have to go back or want to go back. Like the brokerage that I switched from, I still talk to the brokers. I still, I was talking to one of them the other day. And so it's just like, oh, we haven't talked in a while. And, you're able still to ask for advice and having those relationships, because within real estate, like you've been as long as I have, and it's like we collaborate. I don't see you as you're my competition.
Right.
I may come to you for a question that I know that you have the level of experience and knowledge because you've been in the business longer than me going like, oh shoot, who do I ask?
Right.
I need some advice. Who can I go to?
Yeah.
And you know that, hey, you know what? I can pick up the phone and, call my peer that I did transaction with, and he was level-minded, and I think he would be able to help me. And so it's just keeping it professional. And I think being able to join a team, early on, and being open-minded, and not looking at the dollar amount, and doing your research, who you truly feel you could learn from, and basically set your foundation would be the one thing, for sure, the advice.
So I'm going to add a question because it made me think of something when your answer, it made me think of something. So why haven't you created your own?
My own brokerage? I do have my broker's license, but I don't know. I think I like having another level that I can answer to, or if I need that support.
Yeah.
And then I know that we have basically SABOR, the legal hotline and all that. I don't know. It just, I switched over to a company that I'm right now, Real. There's different things, their technology has really pushed me to be out of my comfort zone. Obviously, this is my second podcast. And as you know, like it was, I'm not accustomed to being, doing stuff like this or being in front of the crowd. I'm more of a one-on-one mentorship than being on stage, stage fright, whatever you want to call it. I'm working on it, but so being around other people doing the videos and providing tips, I know that I'm not doing my justice for my past clients or future clients on sharing, ideas, sharing tips, real estate advice, and them seeing me, on video or just talking through those points versus one-on-one. Oh, well, my clients can call me and I can give them the advice, but how does the public know that I'm knowledgeable of what I'm doing and the length of business I've been if I don't put myself out there? And so being with Real, that's really helped push me out of my comfort zone. And I've had a few videos out, and I'm working on getting some more and putting my brand, my face out into the social media world. But I think that because of that, because I'm surrounded with a lot of agents that do that too. If I open my own little boutique, it's kind of like just my team. So me moving from the other brokerage to here, people are like, well, how do you like it? It feels the same to me because I have my little group.
Yeah.
I have my girls. We went from one basic office space to another. It's not different.
Yeah.
Now the benefit is that they're pushing you out of your comfort zone. So I'm doing a little bit more of that, attending more events, networking with more agents from all over the world, where before, even though our previous brand was international, I don't feel like I knew agents from different states like I do now. And, doing more travel that way and meeting more agents. I think that's really been huge for all of us, not just me, even some of my agents. And being part of the Tom Ferry, they're able to go to certain trainings for free because it's part of our package, and getting to meet other agents and seeing what they're doing to be successful in their state, and sharing and collaborating and things like that. So that has been, different. And then also, obviously, retirement. I'm not getting any younger. I came from corporate 401k. I don't have that, other than what I'm investing myself. So with Real, we have the, the residuals, and so that attracted me to it. And that's it. So I'm not a recruiter, so I didn't join because, I'm going to recruit. I'm focused on my real estate. And if people want to know about our company, they ask me, I tell them. It's like everything else.
Yeah.
You tell them the good with the bad.
Yeah.
It might not be for you, And so if they join, great. If they don't, then no big deal. But I'm here to do real estate, and I'm here looking for my future, my retirement, and it was just a really good fit for me. And but I do have my broker's license.
I asked. That's the reason why I asked it, was because when I got mine, I was like, I wanted to start it right away.
Really?
But yeah, just because I didn't want anybody else telling me what to do. And where I started, it was like, you got to do your business like this. And I was like,
so is that why you got your broker's license, so you could
be
your own boss?
Yeah.
See, I got mine because I had one client, a very wealthy client, and he was looking into some commercial, and I referred him to one of the commercial agents in our office. And he's like, Sandra, what is that alphabet soup behind that guy's name? And I started laughing. I didn't think about it. And I was like, that's how the public sees it.
Yeah.
All the designations, they just see it as alphabet soup, right? They don't know what ABR, all that other stuff. And I was all like, that was funny. And I said, you know what? Everyone knows what a broker is.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to worry about getting all those designations. I'm just going to go for my brokers. Yeah. And so broker associate, I don't need that alphabet soup behind my name. And
I did the same thing. I did the ABR, and then I was like, I got to pay for that too?
Every year.
Yeah. And I was like, I'd rather just pay for the one.
Yeah.
And then, but literally it was just because they were changing the criteria to get it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I just need one more class. I can go get it I was like, done. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I did it. And then when the opportunity came and my partner opened up that door, I was like, I'm out, because I don't know, like, they opened the door and I was like, all right, let's go. I go, let's go. And then she didn't come with me. So it was kind of like, I was like, all right. And so I started by myself. And so what I missed was what you talked about, of not having the people to bounce things off of each other. Because I was like, that's how I met Julio. I was in a Regis office, sitting in a cubicle kind of type of thing by myself. I was doing nobody's telling me what to do.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is different. So that's why I ended up going, doing the Remax thing, was because I wanted to recreate that office space. And, but yeah, that's kind of where it went to. So, but yeah, I don't regret it. But sometimes I do go, and I did interview before we did the Remax thing. I went and interviewed with some other brokerages, because I had never done that since the very beginning. So I was like, hey, now I got some clout a little bit. So I was like, let's go interview. But, yeah, I mean, I kind of miss it, but now I'm already kind of, stuck in the independent, where I just feel like I'm good. Like, kind of, I've thought about it, but
like, I got this.
Yeah. Well, again, it's going back to I did where I went back to another brokerage, and I watched the broker doing what they were doing, and I'm like, I'd do it different. You know what I mean? It was just that, because you've already done it.
You're already set in your way.
Yeah. So last question. What does future Sandra Rangel real estate look like?
That's a good question. I feel still probably a small team, and I just want to right now focus on more of our systems and finding ways to streamline things and be more systematic, where, okay, we have certain things that we do on a regular basis. Every year we send, certain things out to clients. So we have our list. Like, even like, I'm really big with Popeyes, and before it was like, oh, it's January, what are we doing this month? So it was always being reactive instead of proactive. And so being from Toyota and having processes and procedures, we had that. But like, for all the other stuff, like the fun stuff, the client events and all that, last year we really honed in on like, how many events are we having? We should already know, what month and all of that. And same thing with Popeyes. We have a book, every month of different options to do. And so we're getting better at that. But, that's my goal for this year, is perfect the systems that we have in place. And then also, most of the agents that came on board were agents that were already experience. So it's just recently where I'm dealing with, newer agents. So right now I'm working on a book where what are they going to do the first, week, the second week, the third week, instead of waiting to shadow someone or to meeting with me because I'm still, in the field. We're working on streamlining a book to have okay, like I tell many people that, well, if you were in corporate 40 hours a week, well, what are you doing for real estate? We take it for granted I have free time. I'm very flexible, but you're not giving your business 40 hours. So if you don't succeed, who's to blame for it?
Right.
You can't just depend on your team lead. What are you also doing? So a lot of the times they don't know what to do. So I feel that I want to create something for them and be able to have, samples or experiences or things that I can introduce them to and then be like, okay, now run with it. And I expect this many, because there's some programs, like the Core, the Greatness Tracker, make your calls. Well, who are you going to call if you don't have a database to call?
Right.
And, not everybody wants to cold call expireds.
Right.
Like I was in a cold call girl, so it was like for expires, it's like, okay,
What do you say?
they're going to reject me. What am I going to say?
Yeah.
So then I have to figure out, well, what will I do? And so then I have to be consistent at that. So I want to be able to have the different options for my newer agents coming in and saying, okay, these are the things that you can do as you start, because you don't have a database. You could have these type of options. What do you see yourself doing? Are you doing open houses every weekend? Are you going to go door knock or are you going to do this? So being able to have a book, to present them. Kind of like when I was at Toyota and we did a procedures book where how do you place orders? When you're placing an order. I had a book and screenshots and arrows pointing here or there. Okay, here's your procedure. If you have any issues, then let me know. So kind of the same thing for real estate. Some of it's going to be hands-on, but at least having some type of manual to help them and guide them and saying, hey, what did you already complete what you needed to do the first week and the second week? Okay, let's go over it. Or to be able to have something to follow.
Yeah.
And so I feel that that's where I want to be a little bit better at, because now I can't say I'm always going to have seasoned agents join my team.
Right.
And so if I do have these newer agents, to be able to be there for them and not be too busy for them.
Yeah. No, I think systems are great. I think you're on to something with, let me know when you complete that book. Cause I think there's a lot of agents they want that. Like they're like, well, what do I do? And I can say it and I can tell them, but it's like, sometimes it's like, it doesn't sink in. It just kind of like, I heard it. I know what you're telling me.
And I feel like times I tell them what to do and then it's like, they don't. But I feel that if I have like in a sense a manual, and then they have something in front of them and then kind of accountability and say, well, you can't say I didn't tell you.
Right.
It's here in the book.
Well, what I've heard just from feedback is we all learn different, right? Some of them are very, tell me what to do, I'm going to do it. So I'm like, I need to see it and read it. I need to like, do I'm a book learner. Yeah. So I think it's just to have all your, bases covered, right? Well, I want to say thank you. See, it wasn't that bad.
Well, you kept a good conversation.
You kept a good conversation. You just did it. There was no dead space. There was, but I think the only thing that I didn't do that I was thinking about right now was all your accolades. And I had a list of them.
That's okay.
It was a long list. Maybe I'll put that in the notes. I'll put it in the notes.
I think the one that's more important is the NAHREP.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Number one.
And I think that you getting it's National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, and it's a national accreditation, but it's especially for our market and to be number one multiple times.
I think it was 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
The first one's always memorable.
Sure.
That's the one that you're always nervous.
Because you were always in the top 10. It was like 4, 6, something like that.
I was like, top 10. I'm good, right? I was always,
and then
that's
boom,
great. And then it's
one.
like, every year it was like jumping up and jumping up. I'm like, oh shoot, I don't want to be number one,
Yeah.
because I didn't want to speak, because they would make you speak,
Make you speak,
right?
yeah.
Give your speech or whatever. And I was like, oh, I'm fine, 4. And then it was like, oh, 2. And I'm like, oh man, I was like, and then that one year,
What year
it
was
was
that?
Beatrice called me. I don't
18,
remember.
19?
And she's all like, they're still finalizing it, but I think you're going to be number 1. And I'm like, oh no. I was like, no.
And it's not a popularity contest. It's volume, but at the same time, it's volume, but it for Hispanic realtors in our market. Correct. So that's a big deal. And then there's like a national one, so you got to
national one.
So
that one's bigger too.
For sure. So congrats on all of your accomplishments.
Thank you.
Congrats on your business. Congrats on just being a badass in real estate, not in male or female. Just seriously. And the fact that you do it with a small team is more impressive to me, because I know with that, there's a lot of big teams, and you see their names and you're like, but you have
20,
12, 15. Yeah. So, it's more impressive to me. And so congrats on that. Continue success in your business. And thank you again for your time, for being here. And maybe we'll do it again.
Maybe.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. Take care.